Sigmund Freud is the famous Austrian founder of psychoanalysis, an approach to understanding human mental life which was extremely influential, especially in mid-20th century. Although now it's been superseded by a number of other psychological theories, and it has few proponents. He wrote a couple of different books about religion, but his most relevant work for our purposes is called The Future of an Illusion. Here, Freud tries to apply his theory of human psychological functioning to human society, to civilization as a whole. He moves from the individual level to the level of the human race. He notes that since we have to live in society together, that forces us to control ourselves. We have to repress our desires and not act on all of them. And that's painful. We can't take what we want, do what we want, have sex with who we want. And that's a kind of loss, not being able to do whatever we want. Thus we end up inventing gods. Why? To believe in such soothes our pain. We think that they'll reward us or compensate us for our troubles in the afterlife. He says that gods are a collective representation of our individual experiences as children. Each of us as a child knows the experience of fear and dependence. We then kind of project that out of the child-parent relationship out into the wider universe. We imagine large-scale cosmic parents that care about us. And eventually this results in monotheism, belief in one original heavenly Father, one God. Like many early modern theorists, Freud assumes that polytheism is older than monotheism, and that monotheism only gradually evolved out of polytheism. As humankind becomes less superstitious, he thought, and as human knowledge advances, we restrict the role of the gods more and more, and then we decide we only need one of them. Freud believes that this formation of belief in God is a case of wish fulfillment. Wish fulfillment is where you end up believing something because you strongly want it to be true. In this case, we feel helpless. We're in a hostile world. We don't get what we want, and the world's full of dangers. And because of all these emotions, we want there to be a big heavenly daddy. And that desire, he thinks, causes us to believe that there is such a being. An obvious case of wish fulfillment would be the contestant in a beauty pageant who believes she's going to win. She wants to win really, really badly, and it's plausible to think that that causes her to believe it. Does she have evidence? No. The belief just results from her strong desire. He calls belief in God then an illusion, and he means this in a technical sense. He has his own definition for this. He doesn't mean to imply that it's false that there is a God when he says this, although he does think it's false. He is a naturalist. What he means by calling it an illusion is, first, that it is a product of wish fulfillment, and it's something that can neither be proven nor disproven. He seems to assume here that proof or strong evidence would have to be empirical, and there's not empirical evidence here, he thinks, not observational evidence. According to Sigmund Freud, religion has done good things. It's positively contributed to human civilization. However, civilization has now outgrown it. We, the human race, are not children anymore. We don't need wish fulfillment. We have reason. We have science. And Freud assumes that science has just revealed a godless world. He doesn't quite say that religious belief is a mental illness. He does compare some religious rituals to obsessive-compulsive behaviors, and he thinks that they're similar in some ways, although not the same. He does think some religious rituals result from repressed desires, especially sexual desires. What should we say about this theory of religion? Well, it has its obvious limits. For one thing, as an atheist from a Jewish family, it seems that Freud is really most focused on the monotheistic traditions. And the theory seems to be built to explain belief in a monotheistic God. It's less clear how it would apply to religions like Chinese traditional religion or Confucianism or Taoism or various kinds of Buddhism. It's not clear there really is a general theory of religion here. What there is an explanation offered for the source of belief in a monotheistic God. It's a theory about the origin of belief in God. Obviously, the theory just assumes naturalism. Obviously, it's hostile to belief in God. A thoughtful believer in God is probably not going to be impressed by his assertion that belief in God comes from humans being scared and just wanting there to be a God. That's to ignore quite a lot of religious experience and other sorts of evidence and argument that believers in God have cited. On the positive side, it does seem obvious that a lot of religious beliefs play a comforting role for many people. And sometimes people do believe things just because they want them to be true. It is a little disturbing how just speculative this is. The book theorizes about the history of the human race as a whole, but it's not a work of history, nor does it involve archaeology, nor does it involve anthropology or sociology. It's a theory within psychology, all right, but it's not a theory for which there is any kind of scientific evidence. This is just something Freud came up with. You'll have to judge whether you think it's adequate to the facts that it seeks to explain. In our next segment, two more religion-friendly approaches.